Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. This is the Business Day Spotlight, your destination for African business made simple. My name is Mudiwa Gavaza, and for today, we get into a conversation about financial inclusion in the South African economy. How do we get more people, to be included, in the world of digital payments, and you give access to formal financial services to a segment of the population that has, gone largely ignored by the formal financial services sector, for so long. So that's the conversation that we're going to be having. And to help us to unpack that, we are joined by Simphiwe Phakathi, who is the executive head for sales and distribution over at EasyPay Everywhere. EasyPay is, a part of Lesaka Technologies. They are listed on the JSE. Simphiwe, greetings to you today.
Good day. Thanks, Mudiwa. Great to have this conversation with you.
Good place for us to start, obviously. The parent company, which is Lesaka, formerly known as Net1. A lot of people, know that particular name, tended to has, always been, not always, but in recent years, association with, the social grants and all of that. But specifically as EasyPay, maybe you could give us some insight into what that unit is actually doing. What are the lines of business? What is it that you guys are doing at EasyPay?
Absolutely. So, no, great stuff. Thanks. So, EasyPay Everywhere is a subsidiary to the Lesaka Group. It's the consumer-facing leg, which basically provides banking services to mainly and predominantly grant recipients across the country. We've got more than 1.3 million of them who have chosen EasyPay Everywhere as their bank of choice to receive their grant. So we provide that banking services to those clients. Additionally, we also provide value-added services to this client base, such as we provide lending to them, as well as insurance. So we provide a fully fledged financial suite of solutions to this client base, being our grant recipient clients.
Very interesting, to see that particular business, and we've seen it growing, over, a bit of time. Any sense you could give us just around what that customer base looks like? Lesaka is a company that I cover, and I do know that one of the stated goals, for EasyPay has been, trying to break this million number. That had been, one of the goals for a number of years. Where are we in terms of that?
Yeah, well, we're releasing our results today, so we'll definitely ask that you watch out. But that goal is definitely well in sight.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you guessing. So that's been a big goal of ours. I think I can say it's because we passed the million even when we released our annual results. So the million goal that we were chasing of grant recipients is definitely in hand, and we've exceeded it. But you'll find out this afternoon when we release our results how far we've gone.
All right. So I think one of the things that we are then keen to get your sense on is digital inclusion, financial inclusion are some of the big buzzwords and terms that we've heard out of the world of fintech quite a bit in recent years. I think I started by sort of framing what the idea is, capturing that part of the market that has largely gone ignored by, your formal banking services. And I guess one of the big questions that I ask, because there's a supply side and a demand side. From the supply side, because you guys are there to offer the services, these banking services. The easy question would be, if this is a base that has gone largely ignored, are you guys not taking some significant risk by trying to include, people, into this world of banking?
No, I think We tend to look at the world quite differently. If you look at EasyPay's experience in terms of the communities that it operates in, we understand the need for formal banking services in this particular sector of the economy and the challenges that they face. We've been part of, at one point, paying the grant nationally for all these clients. And that experience also came with a lot of learnings. And one of the things that I think has become crystal clear for us is that this is a big part of the economy who have largely been excluded, who actually are not different to you and I, Mudiwa, in terms of needing financial services. So why do we have the ability and the options that we have? And there's no single institution that actually says, you know what, we're going to put our hand up and actually solve for this client base to make sure that they are no longer underserved. So we believe there's a great business opportunity as much as an opportunity to impact this part of the population very positively by providing the right solutions that speak to their needs. So definitely not a risk, but an opportunity in our view.
So when it comes to the EasyPay offering, right, because there's a lot of different pieces when it comes to, I guess, what are considered to be financial services. You know, things like your lending, things like your insurance, things like the ability to do real-time payments, money collection, remittances. There's a whole universe of things that are offered there. For you guys as EasyPay, right? Where have you guys focused? Where have you focused your attention? And secondly, what's popular? Like, what is your base actually making use of from the different product lines that you guys have?
Yeah. So, what's really popular and most important is the ability for our clients to receive their grant. For us, that becomes the basis of trust from a client-based perspective and unlocks everything else. Once our clients are able to receive their funds in the chosen method of payment, which is our banking account, then they're able then to use those funds to transact and also unlock additional services. So that's the first one. And then secondly, they are very much obviously transactional, so they need these funds to be able to transact. Our card is one of the mechanisms they use to transact at any retailer. But more recently, we've thought about how do we become more convenient for them. And we've then obviously launched digital channels for them to transact from the comfort of their home. USSD is very convenient because they don't need to catch a taxi to go and transact, to buy airtime, buy electricity, and the like. So that is really quite popular and really speaks to their needs, and how we save them money to commute has become quite a big winner for them. We have the app because, when people think of grant clients, they probably think of the old age client base. But if you look at the grant population nationally, 70% is made up of child support grant, which is young mothers who actually are digitally savvy. So then that's why we also have an app so that we can appeal to all our client segments. So they also use the app, but also then they take up other products. Just like you and I, when we think about the need to buy a home, we engage the bank and say, I need to take out a home loan. They also need to provide for schooling, and sometimes the grant is not enough, which is then where we come in. We offer lending, really affordable lending to them, that then allows them to fulfill their financial needs in a much more affordable and safe manner in line with the regulator. And then lastly, I did mention insurance. We only offer funeral cover at this point in time. which ranges from 5,000 to 30,000 rand, and they found it to be extremely affordable. And that is a very popular product of ours. So
Very
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, so very interesting to hear the things that have become, I guess, popular. But like you said, the fact that someone is able to receive, a grant through one of your accounts probably then unlocks, the different layers that you guys have been able to then build, on top of that. Engaging with the community, like I said, there's a supply side and a demand side. On the demand side, there's a criticism, and I'm just going to give it to you because we're debating.
that's fine.
That's that I've heard, and I'm keen to get your take. Because on the one hand, you've got people that are obviously grateful, to be included, to have that ability to transact, digitally, the ability to, let's say, send money easily, reduce your reliance on cash. And in certain cases, an argument could be made that it's actually cheaper to transact digitally than to transact with cash. But on the other side of the equation, you have people that then come in and say, well, financial inclusion is just another way that companies are trying to get people to be indebted, in South Africa. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my thoughts on that is, yeah, of course, there's two parts to this equation. The first one is one you raised, is that we're creating a viable alternative for clients to have access to finance for them to fulfill their requirements. The point around indebtedness really comes down to the process within which that the organization follows to grant that credit. So in my view, it's not about creating people to be in debt and the like. It's about responsible lending to people who one can afford, making sure that you follow the right process to pre-score clients, and make sure that you understand their affordability, and then only if they qualify, you grant the loans. And that, you say you cover us and cover our results. You would know then that when you look at our loss ratio, it's well below the acceptable range of less than 5% in this market, which is unheard of. So I think for me, I don't think it's about creating indebtedness. It's about responsible lending to people who can afford. And those who can't, it's also important that as an organization, you follow the regulations, and you say no, you can't lend to people who can't afford. So it's a balancing act, but I think there are ways to create financial inclusion without over-indebting people.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely a huge balancing act. And I think we do need to be fair, to the fact that a lot of the big developed economies around the world have been able to get to where they are through credit, right?
Yes.
A lot of the funding for technology startups, for example, is coming from, a pooling of funds that is actually coming from, people usually call them savings. That's the formal
Yes.
term that tends to be given. So I understand where the argument comes from. But I think within a bigger picture context, history has taught us that a lot of economic development has resulted from the extension of credit. And they often say that you can tell the health of an economy just by looking at the level of credit extension that is actually happening, in a particular, in a particular economy. The other piece of the equation for me that I'm curious about, especially from an EasyPay, point of view, is you've got you've got the grant recipients who become the customer base, and then obviously you've got, I guess, SASSA, which is the one that is putting the money in. How's your relationship with the merchants side with the merchant side of things, because when you're unlocking all of these different services, you also have to then be plugging in other providers, to make, some of that stuff happening. Of course, you guys are doing some of it in-house, but there's obviously partnerships along the way.
No, thanks. So you can't digitize this ecosystem if you're just going to look at your lane, your ability, and I guess the tools you have. So we definitely are we always look at the entire ecosystem. And when you talk of merchants, the first one that really is a practical example of how we've looked at enabling the entire ecosystem is Kazang, which is our sister company, which formed part of the Connect Group acquisition last year in May, which actually is trying now to bring the consumers, our grant clients, as well as the merchants within the communities, within the communities where they operate, where they can now transact with their cards, as opposed to catching a taxi to go to town. Now these Kazang spaza shops and the bigger spaza shops are able to accept cards, and the grant recipients can access their groceries within the ecosystem, which actually starts to digitize the ecosystem, the flow of funds, as opposed to them looking for an ATM or catching a taxi to go to town. So that's one of the most practical examples of how we started to bring the ecosystem together for our clients. Then secondly, we've actually just launched a campaign called Izinto Ziyahlangana, which is for us a statement of intent more than anything. It's not just a catchphrase. We're basically saying things come together for our client base or for these grant recipients, because we believe we've got the right solutions for them that meet their day-to-day banking requirements, that meet their aspirational needs from a financial services perspective, such as lending and funeral cover. But also, we actually are bringing the ecosystem and these financial services and your day-to-day requirements to you through the digital channels and the merchants that are within walking distance to you. So we're making a big commitment to our client with this campaign to say, don't go anywhere. If you come to us, izinto zakho ziyahlangana. We chose a Zulu word and we just made it easy. And then izinto ziyahlangana with us.
No. It sounds like what you call this. It sounds like the marketing team has been hard at work. In putting something like that together. And I guess we'll be waiting to see how the reception of the campaign, actually happens, over time. I want to come back to the lending piece, because we spoke about credit earlier on, and from a financial inclusion point of view, right? It's a similar question to what I asked earlier on, about what's popular. And one of the things that I'm very curious about is to say, if you're going to be offering lending, to that base, like what type of products, what type of products give EasyPay a foot in the door when it comes to lending, to that base? I'm going to draw a parallel. In the world of telecoms, right? The mobile operators have, found quite a bit of success, especially Vodacom, when it comes to airtime lending, for example. Yeah, airtime advance, airtime lending. Who knew that you could lend 5 rand of airtime, 10, 20 rand of airtime? But it's become a huge business, right? So, yeah, keen to get your insights from that point of view to say, when it comes to lending, like what is it? Is it payday loans? Is it short extensions? Is it just a 500 rand that someone needs to get to the end of the month? Like, what's actually happening? Because these are real bread and butter issues for a lot of people.
Absolutely. No, thanks. So the requirements are quite simple. First of all, the client must be receiving their grant with us so that we can be certain that there is a source of income that's coming in. And for us to be comfortable, there must be a regular income. So over at least 3 months for us to then see that it's regular as per the requirements of the law. Then the construct really is, it's largely a term loan. So client has the flexibility to choose between 1 to 6 months based on their needs to repay the loan. And they start from the smallest loan, like you said, of $500 up to a maximum of 2,000 Rand. You know, when I walked in here after spending 15 years at one of the formal banks, I thought 2,000 Rand is so little. Having walked this journey over the past 2 years, traveled the landscape of the country, I've come to realize just how sufficient and significant 2,000 Rand is to these clients. And the ability to repay it over a maximum of 6 months means that the affordability is there and they're able to receive their grant and also afford to pay their loan. And it ends come the end of the 6 months, and the client has the ability to then, if they want another loan, to come reapply. And we start the process from scratch. To if they still can afford, we check the bureau if there's nothing negative or additional expenses that we need to consider. And then if all is in order, we then are able to extend the credit. So it does extend the full spectrum. There could be a 1 month loan, the small 500 Rand, if that is the need of the client, or up to 2,000 Rand over a 6 month period.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, cool. And one of the reason why I asked that question is from the other piece of the digital inclusion, and one of the reasons why people favor cash is because there's a perception that cash is cheaper than using digital payments, because if I use digital payments, the providers are going to be charging me 5 or 10 rand, 5 or 10 cents in the rand, and I don't want to take that hit. So maybe you could just talk to us about what the approach has been, right? Because it's one of the big reasons why more than half of payments in South Africa are still being done, in cash, to this day. So yeah, your sense on that front, and how do you make, because at the end of the day, right, EasyPay is not a charity, you guys are a business, so you do need to be able to make it sustainable, but also at the same time continue to be affordable, to your base. So yeah, just around that. Yeah.
No, spot on. So we find that our client base really enjoys the face-to-face interactions from a trust perspective. So, which is why we've got now more than 250 physical branches, so point of presence across the country. What we first did was review where our branches were placed to make sure that they are in the communities where the clients actually live, or in the economic hubs, the local economic hubs that the clients come to anyway, and within walking distance to SASSA, because from time to time they would need to go there. So we've looked at our distribution landscape and made sure that it's one relevant for our clients, so that if they need to physically come to us, they are able to do so. What we found that we needed to do was employ technology to make sure that the process is fast for clients who still come to us physically. So we've then deployed a tablet, which our staff are able to use to then originate all our products, whether it's a banking product, loan, or insurance, within 5 minutes, which uses biometric, because we know you, and we're then able to facilitate the conversation and come out with a response. either in the branch or in the communities. We go out with gazebos so that we can also then engage clients and come to them physically. And using a tablet means you're not carrying a desktop, printers and the works. And this thing talks to the mobile phone of the client that they have. So you don't need a lot of paper that you need to then complete. So we've really tried to look at our processes and make them digital also to assist those clients who come to us physically. So that was the first phase. The next phase, which we've just launched, is them being able to apply from the comfort of their home, especially for repeat customers. We've lent to you before. Why do you need to come in? We've got all of your details. Just hit our USSD string and we are able then to assist you from the comfort of your home and grant you the loan. And then you access it into your account and you can transact. So that we try and encourage clients to move away from going to physically get the cash. It's in your account. Then you can transact locally in a channel that's convenient to you. So we've tried to meet what I would say our phygital requirements of our clients. That's our reality. Our clients are phygital. It's not only physical. There's an element of digital we're bringing in, but with a physical flair, so that you don't lose the connection with the clients. That's what they love.
I've been enjoying this, this term phygital. I first heard it from a professor, the head of Rhodes Business School. Earlier this year, we were doing a piece about online learning, for business program, for business education, and he spoke about phygital. It was the first time I'd heard that term, and I've been hearing I've been hearing more people, using that term. And I think maybe that's a good place for us to end this discussion, Simphiwe, to say, for that particular base, you mentioned the fact that people still want that physical point of presence, right, when it comes to their money. But at the same time, you guys are offering the convenience of, we can grant you a loan, in the comfort of your own home. So my question is about, I guess we're dispelling myths, any misconceptions that people might have, talking to people that are actually at the coalface, who actually understand how the market works. A big part of the financial inclusion discussion has to do with technology use, right? Is this base of, this part of the economy receptive to technology use? Right. Yeah. I think that's the question that I'm asking, because a lot of fintech players come into the market with apps and super apps and, all of this stuff. But like you said, people still want that physical. So I just trying to get what the balance is for you guys in terms of the tech piece versus the physical piece.
Yeah. So I think it's early days. From what I can see in terms of digital adoption, there definitely is an understanding, a better understanding now of the different options that clients have. But I think we have to be more deliberate in driving two very important things. One, the safety aspect of these digital solutions. And secondly, the convenience factor. We almost have to sing our USSD *120 *3737 hash and make it trend for them to really get it. And there are then early adopters. Like I said earlier, your child support grant client base, which is the majority, are definitely adopting quicker than the other segments of the grant population. But what we are experiencing is also the new old age grants used to be principals of the schools we went to. And they actually are already using banking apps and the like. It's just the safety and security aspect. So it's early days, but it's moving in the right direction, in my view.
All right. So it's early days, but it's moving in the right direction. That is us talking to Simphiwe, was characterizing for us what, the financial inclusion discussion is looking like and the contribution that EasyPay Everywhere is, making in that particular space. Their domain is the realm of, social grants in South Africa. And they've been working to get that base, more included, because once upon a time it was simply just an act of getting money into an account. If people take their money from the ATMs, I remember when I was at university back in the day, we knew that if you went to certain banking halls or certain ATMs the night before social grants are being paid, there would be queues around midnight. Yeah, because literally as soon as the money reflects, people are taking the cash out, and then you continue to transact in that way. But the likes of EasyPay Everywhere are saying that they're trying to create a shift in how that money is used. Let's try and keep, once the money has come in, let's try and keep it in digital form, so that we can then extend, other services on top of that, allow people to be transacting, digitally, giving them access to, more of the formal services that would typically be offered by some of the traditional banks. So very interesting space to be playing in, and especially the insights that Simphiwe was able to give us just around the behavior, because it's one thing to think about it in broad strokes, but quite something else to actually drill down, to say, what is this particular base, doing, because we often talk in economics about the multiplier effect, right? You start with about 1 million people here that are receiving their money, but that money has to be spent somewhere else. And, if we're able to track that, if we're able to plug in other services, other providers, merchants, and that type of thing, then you create, quite a powerful ecosystem. And hopefully over time, we then add to this thing, this nebulous thing called financial inclusion, which, if I'm going to be honest, I think some players have not fully wrapped their heads around what exactly they're trying to do in this space. But at least good to know that EasyPay has their strategy, and they're working to make that happen. And also, where we ended off about the fact that technology, is a huge enabler, and we are seeing a lot more people, heading in that direction. Of course, it does need some evangelism and some education to make all of that happen. So that was us. We were talking to Simphiwe Phakathi, who is the executive head for sales and distribution over at EasyPay Everywhere. Simphiwe, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mudiwa. Remember, izinto ziyahlangana. Thank you.
Nice. Cheers. One. And that's been it for this edition of the Business Day Spotlight. Remember that you can find our latest podcasts on Business Live. That's under the podcast Business Day Spotlight tab. On Twitter, we're #BD Spotlight. And remember that you can review and subscribe for free on iono.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you choose to get your pods casted. I've been Mudiwa Gavaza of the Business Day and Financial Mail, and this has been another edition of the Business Day Spotlight, which is a multimedia live production. So from myself and the rest of the team, it is a good evening, good afternoon, and good morning.